guys to my YouTube channel. If this is your first time here, welcome to the Delle Dolls family. And if it's not your first time, welcome back, sis. Today I have a story time for you guys. It has been a while since I've told a story, and with everything that happened over the past week and just lately in life in general, I figure a story time is long overdue. So today I'm going to be talking about my first time I went to Dominican Republic with two of my friends, and of course you already know I'm going to change up the names and all of that to protect their identity. But before I dive into the video, don't forget to follow me on Instagram if you're not already following me, and go ahead and grab you a snack and a beverage if you don't have one. I don't have one on me, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell the story. But go ahead and pour you a drink and eat a snack in solidarity for me, and let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so this story took place in 2012. I can't believe this was 8 years ago. 2012, me and two of my friends, like I said, went to DR. My male best friend at the time, we'll call him Troy, and another friend of mine, a female friend, and we'll call her Jessica. So Troy and Jessica. I hope I remember these names, because when you're changing these names in these stories, it's like, oh no, I don't want to slip up and say their actual names. So Troy and Jessica. So we decided to go to DR. My brother, one of his friends, owns a company. I don't know if this company still exists, by the way, but at the time, my brother's friend owned a company. I forgot the exact name, but it was like Urban League something. Basically a group of like young adult professionals from various cities throughout the world, really, but predominantly the US, would come together like once or twice a year and take these trips, these destination trips to the Caribbean or whatever. And so the whole premise was like, it will just be a grown and sexy, either extended weekend or like a week-long trip where you go and you get to meet people, but then you also are like hanging out with your friends and stuff. So I believe this was the second year that they had done it or something. It was still fairly new, but we were going to Punta Cana. And so when my brother told me about it, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go, because the packages were like a really good price for what you were getting. I was like, this is a really good price, because it included the resort room, it included of course, and the resort is all inclusive. So that means all your food, all your drinks, everything's included, even your alcohol. Like, this was all inclusive. We didn't have to pay for anything unless you left the resort. Then the resort had a club on site. It included like a bunch of parties that they had on the premises, but then parties that they also had off the premise. So I know they had like a party at I want to say it was Planet Hollywood or something like that. But either way, it included a bunch of parties and packages and stuff. The only thing you had to pay extra for were the extra excursions. So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go to DR. Like, come on now, with these prices, of course. So of course I tell Troy, and he's like, yeah, let's do it, And so Troy and I ended up planning it. My mom and sister were supposed to come with us. They ended up not coming because they ended up having to take care of some other stuff. But I told Jessica, and she was like, yeah, let's do it. So we end up going on the trip, right? And I don't know what led us to not book the flight to Punta Cana. I think the flight to Punta Cana was too expensive. So we were like, you know what, let's fly into Santo Domingo. Had no idea that Santo Domingo was like 3 hours away, So we booked the flight because it's literally like hundreds of dollars cheaper, I think. That's why we went with it. So when I show up to the airport, we all left at different times out of different airports, I believe, but we met up in Miami to take the flight from Miami to Santo Domingo. And so when I show up to the airport, I think I had problems with my seat or something, because this is my first time flying on Spirit. I should have known. Those flights were too cheap. I should have known something was wrong with it, but nevertheless, Spirit was still pretty new at that time. So I show up, they're like, oh, your luggage can only be 41 pounds. It can't be 50 pounds. So thank goodness my mom was there, because I was going to take a taxi to the airport. She was like, no, let me drop you. So I ended up having to take out stuff. She took it back to my place for me. And then something was wrong with my seat. I think I didn't realize that I had to pay extra to book a seat. So Spirit was like, we can try to get you in a seat, but it's not a guarantee. And it was just a whole bunch of stuff going on. We get to Miami, we meet up, we get to Santo Domingo, all's well, and I had met this guy like at the gate waiting for the flight to Santo Domingo, and he was so funny, and he was showing me like, his outfit and his purses and all that kind of stuff. Like, homie had style, okay? Homie had style, I'm not even gonna lie. So he ended up being like my little flight buddy or whatever. But when we got to Santo Domingo, we land and we're just like, okay, yeah, we about to turn up, this, that, the third. And first of all, we didn't realize that this was, even though DR is such a tourist destination, a lot of people don't speak English there, at least not at that time. Like, a lot of people were just not that fluent in English. Santo Domingo was better than Punta Cana, though, I could say that. But even still, I was like, okay, this is a shock, because this was my first time going to a predominant, like, a tourist country where Spanish is the main language, because I had been to other parts of the Caribbean where Spanish is spoken, or like Portuguese or French or something is spoken, but English is still like the main language, or enough like of the population speak English that you don't really feel the weight of not having that common denominator of language. So this is my first experience with that, and I was like, okay, this is new. Like, I did not expect this. You know, I thought that, especially because, like I said, so many people go on tours, especially at this point, that more people will speak English. But we get to the airport, taxis are outside, and we're like, oh, you know, I'm the only one out the group that could speak like decent enough Spanish for us to communicate, which is hilarious because Jessica's half Panamanian. So I'm like, girl, like, why are you not speaking Spanish? But nevertheless, she's trying to like articulate with her hands, and she's doing hand signals and stuff. And I'm just like speaking my really, really poor Spanish that's just barely enough for us to get by. And so we're like, you know, we need to get a taxi to Punta Cana. So when we say Punta Cana, everyone's like, what? Punta Cana? And we're just like, why is everyone so shocked, right? And this is when we found out how far it is. And so finally, one of the taxi drivers is like, oh, that's like almost 3 hours away. And we're like, what? It's that far? Like, because when I looked online before we booked the flight, no one said it was that far. Like, they made it seem like the bus trip was maybe like an hour and a half tops. And they were like, yeah, like, that's why there's a whole nother airport over there. People don't even like fly into Santo Domingo like that when they're going there. And we're just like, wow, okay. So we managed to get a really nice taxi driver. And what we ended up doing was Troy ended up booking a hotel for the first night, because the package that we bought from the company, from my brother's friend's company, it was including like, say it included like 4 nights, but we really wanted to spend like 5 nights. So for the extra, no, it was 4 nights. Say the package was 4 nights, but we were really spending like 6 nights. So one night was going to be just like in a random hotel in Punta Cana, and then the other night was going to be in a hotel in Santo Domingo to kind of like explore Santo Domingo for that day. And so when we get in the taxi, we tell him like, yeah, we're not going straight to the resort tonight. We're going to go to this hotel, and then tomorrow we're going to go to the resort. So he's like, okay, cool. So we're driving, you know, we're like, yeah, you know, this is so fun. It's working out. We get to the hotel. Troy goes in, and I go in with him, and they're like, oh, we didn't have your reservation. You would have to pay an extra XYZ amount of dollars in order to stay here. And so we're like, are you kidding me right now? And he was like, how did you not get the reservation? And he's showing them the email and stuff. And they're just like, yeah, like, we don't know what to tell you, you know? I don't know if it was a really busy weekend or if they were really on some scammer type stuff. But either way, we couldn't stay at that hotel. So then we get back in the taxi, and the taxi driver's like, what's going on? You know, and we're just like, well, we can't stay there because they don't have a reservation. Now we're low-key stranded in Punta Cana. No, at this point, like, even less people speak English, which was, again, shocking to me because Punta Cana is the tourist destination. So I'm like, it's a struggle even more so to communicate here than in Santo Domingo. But he was like, oh man, what do you want to do? Like, I don't want to just leave you here. Thank God. He wasn't like that, like that. So we're like, at this point, we all prayed. And this is the benefit of having consecrated friends. Even when we were wilding out and just ratchet and turning up, in that moment, we were like, okay, y'all, prayer circle. Like, it's time to buckle down. It's time to get serious. So we all hold hands in the taxi. I don't remember if the taxi driver was praying with us or not, like holding hands, but I think he closed his eyes to pray with us. And I was like, Lord, like, we need you right now. We need you to come and save us. We don't know what is going to happen. Lord, please intervene. Make a way out of no way, Lord. Be a ram in the bush. So we drive to the resort, and I tell the taxi driver, like, let's just drive to the resort and just see what happens, right? Because at this point, what do you have to lose? So we drive to the resort. And the taxi driver's like, I'm gonna wait here. Like, I'm gonna make sure that y'all are good. So I think me and Jessica go in at the resort, and we're just like explaining the situation to them. Again, I'm trying my best with my really poor Spanish, and she's, you know, articulating with her hands and stuff. She was doing a lot of hand signaling and hand, you know, talking and stuff, sign language throughout the weekend. But we tell them the story. Long story short, they basically are like, yeah, you could stay here. We won't charge you for the night. So I'm like, won't he do it? You know, praise break. Let's insert praise break, you know? And so we were like, thank you, Lord. So we go to the taxi driver and we tell him like, they're going to let us stay the extra night. So he was like, oh, thank God, you know, praise the Lord. And he actually did say that. Like, he actually really was excited. And so Troy gets his stuff. We get our stuff. They take us to the rooms, which we had already booked for the remaining days anyway. And when we get in there, we're like, oh, these rooms are nice. Like, Troy had his own room because he was the only guy out the group. I can't remember if he had a roommate or if he legitimately booked his own room. I think he legitimately booked his own room. So he had his own room all to himself. Me and Jessica had our room. And it was a really nice room. You walked in, it had a big bathroom to the right. Then you walked further in, there were like 2 queen beds and a nice like space to get dressed and stuff. It was a nice size room. They gave us robes, I mean. They gave us drinks. The drinks and stuff in the fridge were unlimited. Like, when I tell you this resort was all exclusive, like you could open the fridge and drink freely. You didn't have to worry about them charging you. The alcohol was unlimited. The food was we didn't have to come out of pocket for nothing. And so, except for, I think at the club, obviously you have to pay, but I don't remember drinking at the club because I could just go to the bar on the resort and get my drinks, you know, for free. And it was literally like a couple feet away. So there's no point to pay. And so we get into the room and we're just like, oh, thank the Lord, you know, God is good. And so we start the weekend, and it was so funny because when me and Jessica used to hang out a lot, she's originally from New York, from the Bronx. I swear to you, every time we hung out and did something, we would always meet New Yorkers. Like, if I was hanging out with anybody else, if I was by myself, I would never or hardly ever meet a New Yorker. The minute Jessica and I hang out, everybody's from New York, and specifically from the Bronx, right? This, like, without fail, it always happened like that. So I remember the first night, I think it was, we showered and we're like, yeah, let's get cute, you know, let's go sit by the bar. Like, I had my wig laid, I had this cute little orange dress, I had a cutout in the back. Like, I was just getting it, right? So I remember we went to the taqueria place where they serve tacos and stuff, and we were just like, okay, like, let's eat and just, you know, sit here and look cute. So we get there, and the tacos take forever to make. Like, literally, they're making it fresh to order. It's taking a really long time. So we were starving at this point because we were traveling so long. It's like late at night, you know? And so when we get up to the counter, we're like, give us 4 tacos. And it was so funny because the guy at the counter was like, dos y dos, like 2 for you, 2 for you. We're like, no, cuatro y cuatro. Like, I want 4, she wants 4. We're hungry. He was like, cuatro y cuatro. Like, he was just so shocked. It was hilarious. And so he gives us the tacos, we're sitting there talking and everything, and then we move our way to the bar. And so when we're at the bar, this is when we meet the New Yorker, right? Told you, every time I hang out with her, a New Yorker comes by. And so we're sitting there, this guy comes around, I forgot his name, I'll just call him Jeremy. Well, Jeremy comes by, and he's just like, oh, hey ladies, how you doing? Are you here with Urban, such and such, you know, the group that we travel with? And we're like, yeah, you know, we're here with them. And, you know, he was like, oh, okay, cool, where are you from? And I was like, well, we came in from DC, and, you know, this, that, the third. He was like, oh, okay, is that where y'all from originally? So I was like, yeah, I'm originally from DC. And then Jessica's like, yeah, but I live in DC, but I'm originally from New York. And he was like, oh, what? You from New York? Which part? And she was like, the Bronx. And he was like, what? Get out of here. I'm from the Bronx too. And so he was like, which part? And she says like what hospital she was born at and like the street she's from. Why did this Bama say he's from the same neighborhood? Like, I lied to you not. Every single time I hung out with her, it was like that. Like, everybody that we meet just gonna be from your neighborhood in the Bronx. Like, every single person. And to this day, that's an inside joke with us where we laugh about that. Like, I swear, it's just so funny. So, you know, Jeremy ends up becoming like a constant kind of reference throughout the trip. Whenever we see him by the pool party, we hang out, you know, we see him at the bar, we talk, we chill, it's all good. He did low-key try to shoot his shot with Jessica, and she was like, yeah, no, like, that's not happening. So I remember, like, every time we would go to the bar, because we were getting it, okay? We were getting it. Our outfits were fire. Like, we were just looking so cute. The bartenders would legitimately be fighting for our attention. Like, they would legitimately be fighting about who's going to serve us. So, like, no, they're mine. No, I'm going to serve them. No, you go over there. We had them, like, wrapped around our fingers. So, I mean, the drinks were already free, but we were getting extra. Like, they were just catering to us hand and foot. And so, we ended up meeting, like, other people there that we would hang out with and, you know, just getting kind of booed up with people and stuff and partying. But I remember, like, when we would go to the club on the resort, the DJ was feeling Jessica hard. I mean, like the first night we went, and this is another thing, when we went to DR, men, I don't know if it's still like this because I haven't been since 2012, but the men literally would want to wife you right then and there. And let's be real, they're looking at you like, this is my ticket to America. Like this is a visa. I need to get in that relationship type of thing. Because the way that they were coming on, it was just way too strong. And some of them were just very, very, very flirtatious. It's not even that they want to come to America. They're just very flirtatious. They're trying to hit, you know? So, the DJ was like all over Jessica, staking claim on her. I remember the first night we went, he was like eyeing her from the DJ booth, and then when he came down, he was dancing with her, and then he had her up in the DJ booth with him. And it was so funny because she had, like, at the time, a really big curly bush, and he had a curly bush too. And that night we went, she had on like a wife beater, some shorts and some heels and stuff, and he had on a wife beater as well. So in the dark, after like tons of drinks, after a night of drinking, and in the dark and the flashing lights, at a distance you couldn't tell who was who from the back, because it's like they both got this curly bush, they were about the same height, they're both on a wife beater, and you know, they're behind the DJ booth, so all you're seeing is like shoulders and head, and it's just like, who is who, you know? I'm over here tripping, not knowing which one's my friend and which one's the DJ. But after the DJ would dance with her, any other guy that would try to talk to her, the DJ would legitimately like try to get in a fight. But here's the kicker, the DJ had a whole girlfriend, if not a wife, and we didn't know that until days later, because like that night, any other guy that would try to talk to her, he's like, no, that's me, you know, in Spanish, however they say it. But he's just like, you know, that's me, leave her alone type of thing. And she's like, wait a minute, so you gonna really stake claim on me, but you over here dancing with every other girl in the club? But they were really possessive. Meanwhile, I'm dancing in the street, salsa, and doing the salsa in the street with this guy I met at the club, and he's like, yeah, let's go out and dance. And so we're dancing under the moonlight in the middle of the street, and he's twirling me around and dipping me, and I'm dipping back up, and I mean, it was legitimately like a scene out of a movie. And so the next night we went to the club, the same guy that I was dancing with in the street wanted to dance with me, but another guy had come up to me, like, I think right before him or something. And so the one guy from the night before tried to stake claim on me, and I was like, nah, like, I'm gonna dance with him. So then that became my boyfriend for the night, and I'm dancing with him, and the other dude's mad watching me all night, like, really? And then whenever the second guy would step away, the first guy would come in and try to dance with me, and then the second guy would come back, and the first guy, like, it was legitimately like that with us. Like, the guys were really fighting. Once they danced with you on night one, that's it. Like, they saw you as their girlfriend. And he legitimately called me that. He's like, you're my girlfriend. And I'm like, whoa, partner, like, slow down. I'm not your girlfriend, you know? Just because we dance in the street, that doesn't make me your girlfriend. So it was really like that. But then I remember, like, a couple nights later, the DJ's girlfriend or wife, I'm not sure which one she was, she came to the party, and he started acting funny with Jessica once his wife came in there. Like, he was really trying to act like, I don't know you type of stuff. And then we saw them in the dining hall, the breakfast hall, a couple hours later, because people party long in DR. Like, the parties would start at, like, at least on the resort, the parties would start at like 7, 8 p.m. and they would go legitimately till 6 in the morning. Like, we would leave the party butt doggone tired and stumble to the breakfast hall trying to stay awake to eat breakfast, and most times we were starving. You know, we would end up that's how we ended up being so drunk, to be honest, because we didn't realize that you can go to the snackette or you could go to the taqueria, because the dining hall closed after certain times. It opened for breakfast between certain hours, open for lunch and dinner between certain hours. So once we missed that bracket, it was like, dang, like, we can't even eat. And there were some nights where we partied that long that we missed breakfast because we partied till 7, 8 in the morning. So you are so drunk and tired, and you're just like, damn, I can't even get breakfast. And you know, you don't necessarily want to eat a taco, so you just go to bed and just try to sleep it off, you know, and then you're back at the bar a couple hours later getting more drinks. Like, my poor liver, y'all. I used to be out in these streets, but nevertheless, he came in with the wife, and they were at breakfast eating and talking, and he tried to act like he didn't know Jessica, but she was just like, okay. But then the next night when his wife wasn't there, or her best friend, because her best friend was like a dancer in the club, like one of those hype women that dance on top of the bar or whatever. you know, when his wife wasn't there or the best friend, then he would be all up in Jessica's face. So that's how these men were. They were real slick, girl. You gotta watch it because they know what to say too. They come on hard, they come on strong. They know what to say to try to get you to just melt away. And it's like, nah, you're not gonna hit me with the okie doke. So nevertheless, we partied our brains out, ate our brains out, lived at the bar, free drinks on deck. We ended up meeting a crew from like New York, ended up hanging with them, and Jessica had her little boo thing in the group, and I met another dude who I ended up kind of being booed up with throughout the weekend, and they kind of became our home base. So she would hang out with that dude and I would hang out with the other dude who to this day we still keep in touch on Facebook and Instagram. But I actually used to have pictures. If I could find it, I would put it in here. But I used to have pictures of all of us, of me and the guy. I would put it, not of my friend and the other guy. You know, I want to protect her identity. But yeah, like I still keep in touch with him. But we ended up just kind of hanging out, and they became home base. So we would go to all the parties together. We would dance together after the parties. We would just like walk along the beach together, and just chat and talk and flirt and all that kind of stuff. And it was so funny because we weren't eating enough. When we would wake up the next day, like for the first 2 to 3 days, we had to get used to the food and the water and stuff. So we were really badly constipated, like really bad. And I know this might be TMI, but this part of the story is hilarious. So after we had met up with those two guys that became our home base from New York, the New York crew, I remember one afternoon we were hanging by the bar, and we had went to get something to eat for lunch out of the dining hall. We're just gonna mostly eat salad, you know, because we don't want to overdo it before tonight, because this is when we were going to a party off the resort. And so they walk us back to our resort room, and they're like, all right, we'll meet you by the bar at this or this time, you know, so we could prepare to go to the party off site, because they had a shuttle that would take us. And we're like, yeah, okay, all right, yeah, we're gonna meet you out there, thanks, bye, you know, trying to be all dainty and stuff. And as soon as we got in the hotel room, it was like, move, bitch. Like, because we were so constipated. And finally, after drinking all that water and eating all that salad, it was starting to flow. So we were fighting over the bathroom. Like, nah, I'm going to use the bathroom first. Like, I'm going to use the bathroom first. I'm out of here, man. Like, you really thought that you was going to use it before me. But 2 seconds before that, we're like, yeah, you know, all right, we'll see you later. Thanks. Trying to be all cute with it. Nevertheless, we clean up, we shower, handle our, you know, bathroom business, and we get dressed, go to the off-site party, all is well. So at the end of the trip, everyone's kind of like slowly but surely rolling out, leaving Punta Cana and stuff, but they all flew into the airport, which was the smart thing to do. We're now scrambling to figure out how we're going to leave Punta Cana and how we're going to get a taxi to take us to Santo Domingo. So someone tells us on the resort, like, oh, you can take a taxi to like this or this bus shuttle. Just say this name when you get in the taxi. They'll take you there. And then that bus will take you to Santo Domingo. But you have to listen for a certain name, because they're not going to say Santo Domingo. They're going to say like the port in the city. So if you don't listen to the stop, you can end up missing your stop, and then it could just get really messy. And so we're like, okay, cool. So we end up almost missing the stop at the bus station, because we go to the bus station and we're just like, okay, this is where we're trying to go again. The language barrier makes it tough. So we finally figure out which bus we're supposed to go on. Almost missed a stop because we fell asleep, because we're trying to recuperate from nights of drunkenness and, you know, partying. And we finally get to the stop. We get off. We get a taxi to the hotel that we were supposed to get, because again, Troy had booked another hotel in Santo Domingo for us to spend that night before we fly out of Santo Domingo back to the US and just explore, you know, the city of Santo Domingo. So we get to that hotel, same thing happened. Like, I don't know what was going on with his reservations. Like, nothing came through. So we get there, he goes in. Taxi driver was really nice. Another one that was a believer. So he's just like, oh, how was the trip? This and that. We're all like, yeah, you know, it was great. Seriously hungover and all sorts of stuff. Troy gets to the hotel. He goes in, he comes out with a long face, and I'm like, don't tell me that we're back at square one. So I was like, what happened? And he was like, they said that they're booked out and something was wrong with the reservation. Or no, I think at that one they said they didn't even get the reservation, and plus they were booked out anyway. Because I'm like, I mean, I got some money, like if we need to, it's not much, but if we need to, I could pay for us to stay. And he was like, nah, like they're full, there's no space. So again, I don't know if this was a holiday weekend, because I believe it was around Memorial Day, so a lot of people could have just been traveling too. So here we are in Santo Domingo, stranded again. Here we are in another prayer circle. Time to, pray to the Holy Lord up above, to the man upstairs, and hope that we figure something out. So Santo Domingo didn't end up working out as pretty as Punta Cana. We ended up going to a ratchet part of the city, the Strip, and the Strip is where the prostitutes are at and the clubs that are not so savory and stuff like that. So we ended up there, ended up getting a hotel that clearly is used for prostitution because we saw condoms on our balcony. And we get into the room. The bed is so rickety. Like, I was scared to lay on it. I thought it would break under my weight. And I'm not that big that a bed can break, but literally I thought it would break under my weight. The towels in the bathroom felt like rocks. Like, I would have rather have wiped my butt and my body with a leaf from a tree outside than those towels. And the bathroom was just dingy. It wasn't like dirty, like it didn't have like mildew or anything, but it was just dingy. Like, you could just tell it's old, it needs some renovation, it done seen some better days type of thing. And so I was like, oh heck nah. I said other words, but we trying to keep it PG on YouTube, but I was like, oh heck nah, like this can't be it. And Troy was like, I mean, this is the best we can do, like this is what we can afford, this is what has availability. So we were like, all right. So I think Troy and I ended up having 2 more nights there. Thankfully, Jessica was leaving the next day, so she was like, I don't have to endure this too much longer. But we ended up going and getting pizza at this random pizza parlor, and it was just, I mean, the people were nice, the streets were lit, but like I said, you could tell it wasn't a savory part of town. Thankfully, nobody like attacked us or anything like that, and everybody was nice, but we just didn't do too much talking because we didn't want them to hear our accent like that and try to set us up. So after we ate, we went in the room. Jessica and I were on one of the beds like this, like not to get too comfortable. She was like, I'm so glad I'm leaving tomorrow, because she actually ended up getting JetBlue back home. And Troy and I were like, dang, like we got a whole nother day. And so I was like, this ain't gonna work. Like, we can't stay here. So I ended up calling my mom and my dad at the time. And I was like, can you send us a few extra dollars so we could see if we could get another hotel, and explain the situation to them. And I had talked to a guy that I was dating at the time, and he ended up sending some money too. And so Troy ended up getting a better hotel room, I think at the Sheraton, which is more downtown, like the nicer part of downtown, for the next night. Because he had 3 more nights, I had 2 more. Yeah, we left like sequentially. So Jessica left first, then me, then Troy. And so she was already gone at this point. She left. She was like, I'm so glad I'm back home. That was like a crazy trip. And so I was like, well, Troy and I ended up getting a hotel room at the Sheraton. He went on Hotel Tonight and managed to book one for like $60 US or something. So that came in handy. My mom and my dad had actually ended up booking me a more different flight that I could leave a day sooner instead of spending that extra night along with Troy. Because I was like, I can't do this. Like, I gotta get out of here. Things are getting real, and I'm not trying to be here much longer. It was a fun trip, but it's time to go back home. So they ended up booking me the flight, and I left Troy behind. But when I left Troy behind, like, when I tell y'all that last day, he was all into it. Like, he ended up meeting a pimp. I don't know how he met this pimp. Like, he always has the most random situations. Because even when we were on the resort, me and Jessica were at the pool party that the organization that we went with had thrown. This fool decided to go to the beach by himself and decided to swim out to the buoy to see if he could handle it. Almost lost his life. Like, I know it's not funny, but when he told us the story, I was like, you gotta do better. Like, he was like, I tried to challenge myself and swim out to the buoy, and the water started getting a little too strong, and I had to really like fight the current to get back to the shore. I was like, this liquor is affecting your judgment. Like, you don't need to be at the bar anymore. But he's always getting into situations like that. So needless to say, in Santo Domingo, after we got the room at the Sheraton, him and I looked around at some of the local stuff, took some pictures, and then I hightailed it back home. And I was like, this was fun, but I'm ready to get back in my bed, in my apartment, and call it a day. And that last day that he was there by himself, he met a pimp. I think the women came up to him first and propositioned him like, hey, you want to have a good time type of thing. And so he was like, oh no, I'm good, thanks. But they kept trying to like force it on him, almost like, no, you want to have a good time. Like we're not asking, we're telling you, because their pimp was there watching them. So they're trying to make sure that they take care of business. The pimp ends up coming. Sorry, y'all, my battery had died. I really didn't realize my phone battery was that low. But anyways, like I was saying, so they're trying to proposition him like, no, like you want to have a good time. And the pimp is watching them. So that's why they're doing that. Anyway, the pimp ends up coming over to Troy because he realized that Troy is not budging. And so he's almost like, you know, what's up? Like, why aren't you trying to have a good time? And so long story short, they end up getting into a conversation and befriending each other for that day. And the pimp is like, oh, you're a visitor. Let me show you around Santo Domingo. So he ends up taking him around Santo Domingo on his motorbike. He's riding around Santo Domingo with the pimp and his prostitutes. And they're showing him like the sights, like taking him on sightseeing tours and stuff like that. He ends up going to a bar and having some drinks with the pimp and just dancing and chilling. And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, it's the weirdest situation. He was like, yeah, like he took me on a ride and, you know, next thing you know, we're at the bar eating and getting drinks and just having a good time. And it was no pressure. Like, he was like, yeah, next time you come, let me know. Like, I'll show you around. And I was just like, I swear you get into the most random situations. So after that, he basically went back to the hotel room, according to him. And he just got ready to leave and he came back home. But yeah, like after that trip, y'all, I was like, yo, and I remember my brother asked me, he was like, how was the trip? And I was like, how was it? Like, besides my liver surprisingly still functioning, it was like one of those trips from like the Hangover movies. I swear everything that could have went wrong, like went wrong, but then at the same time, we were still lit and having a good time and we made connections. Like I said, I still talk to the one dude. Very, 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 you know, rarely, like once in a blue moon, we'll talk on social media, but we're still social media friends. We still like are seeing what each other's up to and stuff. So it was a fun trip. Like, I know the guy that I still keep in touch with, he ended up going back the year after and he said it wasn't as fun. I think this was their first year doing it in DR particularly, so it was a lot more like free flow, more fun. People were just more free spirited. And he was like, the second year that they had it in DR, it just wasn't as fun. Like, they didn't have as many parties planned. It was like overly organized. Like, and I know for me, when I vacation, well, life in general, but particularly a vacation, I like to have a free schedule. Like, I'm very free spirited. I don't like people telling me we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Like, I like to just kind of go with the flow, especially on a vacation. Like, even when I go with my family, I don't wake up early to go to breakfast. Like on the cruise, my mom and sister would get up early, get dressed, go to the fancy restaurant. I'm like, I'm ordering room service, or I'll go to the breakfast buffet in the buffet dining deck. Like, I just don't. Like, one cruise, I literally ordered room service every single day, and I was watching Fashion Runway and sitting on the balcony. Like, I just like to go with the flow. So, you know, he said it was like that. It was like overly organized and it took the fun away. And then the crowd just wasn't the same. I feel like the first year, everybody that we met was free spirited and chill and just down to earth. And I actually ended up running into someone that I went to high school with too. I was like, what? I didn't know you knew about this organization. So like I said, I don't know if they're even still doing trips because so much has changed. Like I said, that was 2012. So much has changed. They might not even still be in existence anymore. But if they are, I would say that my experience was fun. If they are doing the most, then it might not be as great unless they switch procedures. But nevertheless, that's the DR trip. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I definitely plan to go to DR again. I might do, I don't know if I'll do a Groupon or just try to plan like a trip because there's so many ways to do it now. But just beware when you go. Make sure you fly into Punta Cana if your resort's in Punta Cana. 9 times out of 10, the resort will be in Punta Cana. Santo Domingo is more of where the locals are and the natives. But it is fun. And like I said, people were very hospitable, thank God. But it's like so many things can go wrong if you don't plan right. So just be careful, govern yourselves accordingly if you decide to go. But it is definitely worth going because it is so much fun. They party like crazy. You know, the food is amazing and you'll just have a good time. So that's all I have for you. Don't forget to like and comment down below and I will see you on the next video. Bye.